Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.
This is with Fryfield TV in association with MTK Global via Zoom. I'm joined by Ben Davison. Got Shabazz in the background working away today. Who else is in the gym, Ben?
Just Shabazz this morning.
Okay. Of course, we learnt that Lee McGregor's got his date rescheduled for the European title for the 22nd of Jan. So just happy that's over the line, Ben, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, obviously it's a fantastic fight. Tough fight, not an easy fight, but you got to give credit to Lee McGregor because, he takes the fights that often you see the prospects, and can't call him prospect now because he's champion, British champion, but, the fighters coming through don't really want to take so soon in their careers. So, it says a lot about him to me.
Talking about Lee, if he comes through this, which is no given, it's for the European titles early on in his career. So it'd be impressive if he does come through it. But if he does, we saw Cash Root box the other night. It looked extremely impressive. Lee's talked about the rematch. Cash has as well. Do you think that'll happen next year?
I would imagine so at some point. I mean, I can't say because, I'm not Lee's manager. But, it would make sense to happen at some point. I thought that Cash Root looked extremely well as well. I was very impressed. I think he's a brilliant little fighter. So I'm sure that makes sense, along the way. In terms of time scale, like I say, I can't. It's not for me to try and put a time scale on that. But of course, like you said yourself, Karen Girth is no easy task. A real solid European champion. So got that to deal with first.
Well, glad after kind of a hectic time for your gym with him testing positive for COVID and Jack breaking his nose. How is Jack, by the way? How's he getting on?
Jack's all right. I sent him a message last night just to check how he was because I hadn't heard from him for about a week or so. And his message back, I've not listened to the voice note yet, but he's a really, really, really nice fella. I've got a lot of time for him. Really sound guy. Disappointed that happened, but you can take a positive from it because it just gives you more time to keep developing as a boxer and as an athlete and as a person as well.
Okay. Just finally on your fighters, Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, where are we with this undisputed fight? Any news?
I think you'll see that at the first quarter of next year. In terms of date, obviously, there is no solid date that I can give you at the minute. But fantastic fight. Really looking forward to that one. Probably the biggest fight at the minute that's coming up for next year. Just in terms of details, I have none to give you at the minute, unfortunately.
But you're going to have a busy early start to 2021 with Lee's European title shot. Hopefully Shabazz and Jack get out. And I'm guessing that undisputed fight between Taylor and Ramirez will be in like the first 3 or 4 months of next year.
Yeah, it will be busy, but I've got a great team around me that help make sure everything's done on a tight schedule and run smoothly. Some great assistants that help me along with Asgi and Barry. So we'll be able to deal with that, no problem.
I think a lot of people would like to see Josh Taylor if he can come through that undisputed fight, which would be a huge thing because. I don't think there is an undisputed champ at the moment within the sport. So if he can achieve that, that would be monumental. But either him boxing Lopez, if he comes up, which is probably unlikely for the minute, but a fight that could happen is if Taylor goes up to 47 and fights Terence Crawford. And we know the situation around Terence Crawford. Let me quickly ask you about Crawford's win over Kell Brook the other weekend. And also, what have you made of the situation with him and Bob Arum proceeding that? I'm sure you've kept up with it, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. Seems like there was a fight there with Manny Pacquiao that seemed to be done. So I don't see what the problem was in terms of that. If everybody, if all parties were involved in the organisation and the putting together of that, I don't see why there was a problem. He boxed Kell, brilliant fight. As much shit as people want to talk, look at the viewing figures. Clearly, people was interested. So, that was a good fight. In terms of what he got paid, I have no idea, so I can't comment on that. But I think from what I've seen from Crawford, he seemed a little bit taken back by Bob's comments. But, I'm sure it can be resolved if all parties want it resolved. So, of course, a fight that down the line potentially for Josh. But, again, he's got a tough fight with Jose Ramirez ahead of him that full focus is on.
Well, if Terence can't secure one of the welterweights with PBC, whoever wins that Taylor Ramirez fight will emerge as a star. And that Crawford fight with whoever Taylor Ramirez becomes much bigger. And obviously they're both with top rank. So that is a genuine possibility for the end of the year for either Josh or Jose, and hopefully for your sake, for Josh Taylor.
Yeah, of course. And what an opportunity that'll be, Terence Crawford, one of, if not the pound-for-pound best in the world. It'd be a fight that I'm sure Josh would love to take. But again, I'm not his manager. It'd be my job to set out tactics and a game plan and prepare him for it. But in terms of what steps are taken, that's down to MTK and obviously Bob Arum.
After Lomachenko's loss, after Crawford's win over Kell Brook, and with Canelo's fight coming up with Callum Smith, who's your top three at the moment, pound for pound?
It's hard to say. I think you got to put Canelo. Canelo's probably got to be number one at the minute. Then I'd say, some people don't put heavyweights in there. So if you put in the heavyweights in there, I think you got to put Tyson Fury in there because, a win over Vladimir and a win over Deontay Wilder. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Some people are going to get the ump with that. So I think you have to put him in there in terms of wins. That effectively is almost like Crawford beating Pacquiao and Spence. So I think you'd have to put him and Crawford in there. So, but some people don't put heavyweights in there. But listen, I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Okay, so let's stick talking about heavyweights. So I'm sure you watched Deontay Wilder's interview with Brian Custer. I'm going to start off with his comments about Jay Diaz, actually, because he'd mentioned Mark Breland and the Spike Water. And then a lot of people were like, if you're coming out with these gloves hammering accusations, BT filmed your head trainer, Jay Diaz, in there watching Tyson's hands being wrapped. Why didn't you have a go at him? And he said he had strong words with him or something to that effect. What did you make of that comment from Deontay?
There was so much to take from what was said there. It's difficult to narrow down into one single thing.
What about that thing to Jay Diaz, though, about the hands being wrapped?
Firstly, what I want to say is, and listen, my opinion is my opinion. Whether people want to agree with it or not, I do not care. Yeah? Jay Diaz has been with Deontay Wilder since the first day he stepped in the gym. He is a good coach. Now, people are making all this about the comment of not chucking in the towel. There's so much that you can't round everything up into one thing. And first thing I will say is I have tremendous amounts of respect for the mindset that Deontay Wilder has in that area in terms of I live by the sword, I die by the sword. Whether or not as a coach you want that to happen and whether, you have a responsibility to take care of that matter, you have to respect his mindset because he fucking means it. He did not want that towel chucked in. He lives by the sword and he'll rather die by the sword. So you can only respect that because he means it. He genuinely does mean it. He was taking a hiding, but he wanted to take his hiding, and you can only respect that. In terms of the factor that, Of course he carries power. Of course. Can he land a shot and change a fight? Of course he can. Was it going to happen? Probably not. But he has that constant belief in himself, mixed with the fact that he, you know, would rather die by the sword, so to speak. Obviously, no one wants that to happen. You can only respect that, okay? What I didn't like was the fact that he said, they work for me, okay? Now, I don't like that mindset because it's a difficult situation because, yes, the boxer employs the coach, but who's the boss? Who is the boss?
Isn't that the fighter though, Ben? The boss.
Is he though? Because if the fighter does what the fighter wants to do, no one's... Who's steering him? Who's looking after him? Who's making sure he goes in the right direction? And this is moved on to my next point here, where the problem that I often find is they're not fighters, they're superstars, yeah? These guys. When they get to that point, people go, he's changed. Often what happens is it's not the actual person changes, the people around them that change. I'm not saying this is Jay Diaz, and I've got a lot of respect for Jay Diaz. As I've just said there, I think he's a good coach. The people around them change, which then forces that person to change. If you're constantly being told something, gradually you probably start to believe it. So if there are people around Deontay Wilder saying these things, this is the case, you got cheated, blah, blah, blah. Eventually probably starts to believe that. Now, is there someone that can say, listen, the truth is, this is my opinion, boom, 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 and for him to sit back and go, maybe that person's right, maybe that person's telling me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. Very difficult situation, but seen it so many times. That's another point. In terms of the gloves, okay, now, I've got a brand new, for people that want to sling, this is just to shut a few people up. People that want to sling accusations and bullshit. This, as you can see by the laces, is a brand new set of Everlast MX, yeah? Brand new set. Can you tell that by that?
I can, yeah.
Clean as a whistle, yeah? Never been worn. Now, I'm just going to put this glove and hang it up. Oh, the wrist is a little bit...
Floppy
in that glove, okay? That's a brand new glove. Now, if you want to purchase an Everlast MX glove and hold the glove up, you'll see it has a bit of a floppy wrist, okay? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah? So there's also a fight in terms of, I think the specific fight where there's a couple of screenshots of it, actually on YouTube, of Canelo Alvarez versus Liam Smith, who also opens the glove with a throwaway hook is what it's called, where it's a passive hook. You look here, I hit you here type of thing, yeah? And the glove is the same thing where the glove opens up the same as what Tyson's doing now, okay? There was nothing inside of the gloves. Nevada Commission is there. Deontay Wilder's trainer is there. That just isn't the case, okay? Now, my belief on the fight is this, and I had this conversation with Tyson before what happened. That Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, had planned to start slow in that second fight. He had planned to take his time, thinking that Tyson was going to box, go on the back foot, and take his time. Deontay Wilder was going to try and start slow, lull Tyson into a false sense of security, and then try and land the shot. And if you look back at when he's reviewing the first fight, he often talks about, I was overshooting my shots, is his words. Thinking that, trying too hard, basically, forcing it. Tyson's reply to when I said this was, Sun Tzu, Art of War. If he wants to start slow, I'm going to start fast. My reply, and I have all of these texts, I think a good, hard, fast start will work well. That's exactly what happened in that second fight. Wilder did not expect a hard, fast start. Tyson started fast and hard. Wilder got caught. And it just sort of set the pattern for the fight, and he couldn't find himself. It happens. The old saying of he got caught cold. Now, he didn't get caught cold and get knocked out, no. But he got caught cold and couldn't really recover and couldn't really get grip of the fight. That's what happened, in my opinion. Yeah? You got to respect that man for what he's achieved in the sport, where he's come from. And I think he's fucking disrespectful. Now, what annoys me is him and Tyson, on the way up, have always had a lot of respect for each other. Always. Along the way, they've... I've seen the messages between the two of them, supporting each other before the fight, after the first fight, along the way. And look at them after the first fight. Two phenomenal people that have come from different backgrounds. You know, Tyson coming from the travelling community, Deontay Wilder coming from the black community, Alabama, you know, trying to do things for his people and his family. Daughter's, you know, got an illness, and he's trying to do the best for his family. You can only respect that. Obviously, all these accusations, it's just fucking bollocks. Do you know what I mean? I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. I don't want to hear about it no more. It is what it is. It's boxing. Okay? And it's just frustrating for me, because I think deep down, they're two good people. Do you know what I mean? Two really good people. So often, you like I say, if you hear something enough, people start to believe it. And, you know, I don't want either man to lose sight of who they are, where they've come from, what they've achieved, and what they're doing it for. They've got massive amounts of respect for each other. And I wouldn't want to see that. You know, I know what's gone on, but I wouldn't want to see that ruin a potential. Listen, when you've gone through fights like they've gone through together, you leave part of yourself in that ring. That's the reality of boxing. I'm going on a little bit here, I know, but it's a little bit of a passionate rant. You leave part of yourself in that ring, yeah? All what you do in a preparation, mentally, emotionally, physically, in preparation, and in there on the night. You share something with that man opposite you. You do. Both of you leave something in that ring on the night, whether you win or not. And like I say, they've supported each other all the way through. And the reality of where they've come from to get to where they've got to is very, very slim chances. Very, very, very slim chances. But they've both done it. And they share that. And I think that all this bollocks needs to be wiped aside. If they're going to fight a third time, fight a third time. But stop all this shit in between, you know. Just get it sorted out if that's what they're going to do, where both parties are happy with the commission, happy with the ref, happy with the judges, all the usual shit that you need to sort out. You know, I just think it's important that we don't lose sight of that, because it's too easy to throw criticism. I'm not a fan of what's been said by Wilder, obviously. But it doesn't take away everything else that he's achieved, where he's come from, what he's done. I think it's 11 title defences, was it?
Yes, yeah.
You know, all this shit talk of, I didn't want to fight this person, don't want to fight that person. Just have a little quick look at, he fought Luis Ortiz, Tyson Fury, Dominic Brazil, okay, we'll let that one go. Luis Ortiz again, Tyson Fury again. He's not worried to fight a man. He's not scared. He's not ducking somebody. You know, I know that all the accusations on what's going on isn't really doing him good, and I know deep down he probably, you know, he probably believes that, but it's not the case. You know, it'd just be a shame if that's what he gets remembered for, because it's easy to forget, like I say, where he's come from, what he's you know, what he's doing it for, which he's doing it for the illness of his daughter and that, and the fact that them two have supported each other through their career, for it to end up a little bit like it is, just a little bit, it don't sit well with me. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be straightened out and sorted out, because, like I say, they share something between them, and they always will do. Look at the Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran. Look at the relationship those guys have got with each other, you know? That's what boxing's about.
Even Holyfield and Mike Tyson now on a chat show together.
Do you know what I mean? That's what boxing's about. Because they know what each other have done for each other, took from each other. That's what happens in boxing. But that you share something with that person, you automatically become family. And that's the way it should be. And what's going on at the minute isn't a good advertisement for boxing. And like I say, it just don't sit well with me. But that's rant over.
I remember after the first fight, I said to you, Deontay and Tyson are going to be friends one day, aren't they? And that's where you're coming from, I think. That's what's upsetting you. Yeah,
listen, because I seen it, you know. I seen it, messages going back and forth. I seen it, them two actually supporting each other. Do you know what I mean? And they both come from hardship. It's not easy to get to where they've got to. And that includes, you know, Anthony Joshua is the same. Obviously, I've not mentioned Anthony Joshua because he's not fought either of the two yet. Those two have shared the ring twice with each other. Yeah, it's just, I don't like all that. I mean, boxing's it's so easy to go, oh, boxing's a shit business, boxing this, boxing that. Look at what boxing's done for some people as well. A lot of people, a fucking lot of people. And all this about boxing hasn't been put on the bailout list or whatever it was for the communities and that. It don't give boxing a good name when people talk this shit. It's so easy to say. Such a cliche thing to say. Boxing is a dirty business. Boxing is shit. Boxing is this. Look what it's done for so many people. Even people that haven't been success stories and become multi-millionaires off it. Not everybody has. Some people do. Some people, it completely takes them to another level. But some people, it just gives them a bit of discipline, a bit of dedication. Teaches them morals, teaches them respect. Nothing teaches you respect like a punch in the mouth, believe me. And that's what boxing has done for millions and millions and millions across the world. But when you give boxing a bad name, it pisses me off. It pisses me off. And it's not good for the sport. And then things like this happen where it's not been on the bailout list or whatever the list is called. And you wonder why, because people talk shit about the sport. Mm. But the sport's done a lot for a fucking lot of people as well.
I think everyone watching this will agree with you on that one. Just out of interest, you know when Tyson said, let's go at Deontay hard and fast in this rematch, was that after the Luis Ortiz rematch where Deontay was very patient and then just picked the punch and took Luis Ortiz out? Was that the moment?
It was after, yeah. Obviously, I watched that fight. And as a coach, I'm always looking at little things and trying to see where they're at, what they're thinking. And, you know, after seeing and speaking a few things, that was the sort of conclusion that I've come to. And I feel like that's what sort of happened. You know, in the first fight, Wilder come out straight to the centre, met Tyson in the centre, stiff jab to the body, stiff 1-2 straight away, trying to establish himself in the fight. In the second fight, he almost come out trying to be behind the lead hand and a bit of a jab and tried to lull Tyson into something. And that's what I thought was going to happen. And like I say, you know, Tyson was aware of that. And, yeah, he's a fan of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And I believe that's just what happened, you know. Got caught cold. Not caught cold as in knocked out. We got caught cold, you know, and didn't really recover and couldn't get a grip in the fight because of that. Mm. It happened, you know. It's happened to some of the best of them. So I just believe that's what's happened. You know, there are people probably going to go, you know, I'm not supporting Deontay Wilder's comments and what he said and whatnot at all. But I'm just saying, you know, it doesn't overrule everything everything else that he's done. It doesn't take away. And there's an element that you have to admire in terms of he doesn't believe that he can be beat. Now, there's a strength in that and there's a weakness in that. Because when you believe that much, are you really going to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation where you're practicing things, drilling things and doing things that you don't want to be doing, that's boring, that you don't really fancy doing, that you think you're above? But then it gives you that element of confidence. I'm the man, I can't be beaten. You need to have that. I love Andre Ward's top 10 list of things that boxers do. And on it, one of them is anybody can lose a fight, anybody can be clipped. There's always work to be done. So, yeah.
Ben, after all these accusations and he's trying to defame Tyson Fury, should Tyson give him a third fight if it's on the table? Should he give him it?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think it's just got into a really messy situation. It has got into a really messy situation. I saw that Deontay Wilder was saying, I gave you an opportunity. I gave you a shot, Which he did. He did give Tyson an opportunity to box for the WBC.
Tyson's not bringing anything to the table. It was a massive draw then. He was a former champion. So
what's that, mate?
No, I know he gave Tyson a shot in the first fight, but it's not like Tyson was just some unknown guy. He was a massive draw even then. Former world
exactly. So this is my point. He did give Tyson a shot at the WBC. He did, but he also thought that Tyson was, like many people thought, that it was going to be a quick job for Deontay Wilder. He wasn't ready, which, in all honesty, he wasn't physically ready. How could he have been? Didn't expect him to perform how he performed. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? They had the rematch. Tyson won. I don't know the contractual situation. I just think that, I don't know, they're two men that have got respect for each other. I suppose he's probably gone beyond the point where they have the conversation and get it sorted out themselves. It's just really messy, It's just a shame to see it, really. Shame, but I suppose we'll see. It's not for me to say whether he should or whether he shouldn't. I suppose it'll get sorted out in the end, but it's just frustrating because it should be a case of fair play. I'm going to get you next time, with that element of, in the back of his mind, he can think, you know what, I wasn't right, or I can do better than that, I'm sure he'll have that mentality. It's just a difficult one, and it just frustrates me because, what they've gone through together and shared, and the experiences that they've shared is all what I've already said, really.
Just before we go, what did you make of Deontay calling out Dillian Whyte, and also on that list having Robert Helenius on that?
Yeah, I know what he's saying. It makes sense, really. Robert Helenius is a tall guy. He's thinking in prep of Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. Makes sense. Did he just beat, not just beat, but he beat Adam Calhoun, didn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense. Forward thinking. I get it. Calling out Dillian Whyte. Good fight, isn't it? I mean, obviously, Dillian Whyte's tied up at the minute with a perfecting situation. So, that's obviously not going to happen at the minute. But it's clearly business that he wants to sort of deal with. But like I say, all this about he didn't want to fight him, He's not worried to fight someone, do you know what I mean? And I think and the same with Dillian Whyte, really.
Okay, Ben Davison, that was a long Zoom, but I appreciate the time. I will catch up with you next week quickly to do a Dubai Joyce prediction. I look forward to a great heavyweight fight next weekend, and I'm sure you're going to be tuning in tonight as well to watch Conor Benn.
Yeah, I will be. And I've got to say, Conor Benn's successful. I've seen he puts in a lot of work, puts in the hard work and the smart work, really sacrificed a lot. Kept an eye on the work that he's been putting in, and he deserves it. He's really putting the hard work. He's always honest with himself, and I hope that it pays off for him tonight.
Okay, Ben Davison, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Best of luck in camp with Lee McGregor, and also hopefully some news on Shabazz, all right?
Fingers crossed.
Top man, Ben Davison. Thank you very much.
Mate.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.